Kyle here from allmediareviews.blogspot.com. Another video blog, and it's kind of, it's amazing how this happens. Of course, right when I'm about to start doing this whole thing, a bunch of stuff came up. Number one, unfortunately, I found out just about the untimely passing, he was 90 years old, of the great character actor Philip Baker Hall. I first saw him in Cheers, I believe, and he ran toward one of the last episodes, toward the end of the series. He ran against Woody in the mayoral race, mayor of Boston, I think it was. Anyway, he did that whole thing about, I believe in America. It was just so funny. But he's known maybe best for his just bit on at least one or two episodes of Seinfeld, playing this like librarian, auditor, or something like that, where he's trying to, I think Jerry's got like an overdue library book or something. His name is Bookman. I don't know if there was a reference to Good Times, the character, that guy just passed away too a few months ago, but yeah. And then I saw him in, he was in one independent film where, I want to say with, the actress I know, where his son is gay, I think. Let me just look it up if I can do that right now. He showed up in a lot of films. He showed up on an episode of Psych where he was one of the guys at the lodge that Henry knew, who's the head of the lodge. But he was on a sitcom in the mid-2000s called In the Loop with Brett Harrison, which I found hilarious. In fact, I might have bought it on DVD. The thing is, the point that I started seeing him, he was not a young guy. His acting career goes back decades. He might have done stage work. Yeah, looking at his credits, well, actually, maybe not. He started in the 70s, really. Zabriskie Point, the Pink Floyd, the movie that Pink Floyd did the soundtrack. That was his first role, a diner owner. But he wasn't young when he started, is the point. He was 90 years old. But what was the movie that it would see constantly on IFC? Die, Mommy, Die. That was hilarious. I forgot he was in Bruce Almighty. He was one of the he was like the station manager, I think. Is this the movie Jason Priestley? This is kind of just not that long after 90210 was over. Natasha Leone. But he melted down in one scene where his son is eating they're at the dinner table and he's eating his soup and his son is slurping his soup and he kind of melts down. It's just, I don't know, maybe he's not maybe I would find him hilarious. I just found his sort of character I would call it old man humor, grumpy old man humor. It was just, but he wasn't ever too super serious. I remember he was on an episode of Boston Legal where he went after Denny Crane, William Shatner's character, but the show is called The Loop, yeah. It was short-lived. It was about a guy who owned a very small independent airline, and he was an executive, and he was trying to promote different people. And Brett Harrison's character works for him, and it had Mimi Rogers, I think, in it too. But it's I've always found him funny. Anything he's in, I would watch, or at least I would. If I'm watching something he's in it, that would be something to look forward to. I wouldn't necessarily watch absolutely anything he did. But there's a lot of stuff that, for someone who was a fan, I haven't seen, but it's really sad to see him go. 90, he lived a full life, but it's still, I knew, he was getting up there, because he wasn't, like I said, 1970, that was 52 years ago, so he was already 40, he was 48? Yeah. So he started his career in acting. He was older than I am right now, but anyway, rest in peace, Philip Baker Hall. So the second item that just came to light, I just noticed, of course, which has been happening a lot the last couple of years, is, of course, another Kevin Gilbert-related thing. They're going to release at some point the multi-disc The Shaming of the True, but and then some other stuff online. But there's something that's going to be coming out called the Kmg Archive Series. You can just read this. It was posted just 2 hours ago on Facebook. There are unreleased recordings that reveal great history and insight into Kevin Gilbert's music journey. Are you interested? The Kmg Archive Series will present audio recordings of all eras from deep within the Kevin Gilbert audio vault, demos, unreleased tracks, alternate mixes, live soundboard recordings, studio rehearsal sessions, and more with a price tag of $20. Each will be presented as a CD digipack with consistent art design across the series, production credits, song credits, and artwork will be included where available. Each title will be limited to 300 units, will not be re-released, and there will be no special editions. Please note the series is not an avenue for re-releasing out-of-print titles. This series is separate from... It's not like the Covers CD that came out earlier this year. It was like the end of December, it was about 6 months ago. Anyway, you know, it's not a ton of specifics about what it is. It's $20, so that would suggest it's probably only going to be one CD, but who knows? Maybe it'll be a CD and a DVD, or maybe it's 2 discs. I don't know. Maybe it's a very long, like the tracks are short, so. I don't know. I mean, obviously, I've had my share of access to a lot of the unreleased stuff that I haven't revisited in a long time. So, but some of it I might have heard, but I'm sure a lot of it I have not. And actually, the live stuff is probably the soundboard recordings intrigue me. Now, again, how much of this is going to be? I mean, I would think it'd be a little pricier than that, unless it's going to be a double disc. Maybe, like I said, maybe it'll be a CD and a DVD. That would intrigue me the most, because it says, you know, all the different bands of Shaming Energy, the Giraffe, Toy Matinee, Thud. And I don't know what the one on the right there is supposed to be for. Not the Eddie Money period. Oh, Caviar, of course. So, yeah, exciting for that. So, alright, let's get on to the stuff I was intending to talk about. So, first and foremost, I did finally receive my vinyl copy of The Family Crest. Now, this is neat. This is like that book on the CD, but in a much bigger form. The new Family Crest album, The War Act 2. So, yeah, I mean, I was glad that I finally got that, and I was trying to find them, but I didn't track them down in time before filming here, before turning on hitting the record button, but it looks like this is a white vinyl. I just got this off the Bandcamp page. Yep, you know, and I'm still kind of the same feeling about it, so I have an announcement I'll make just briefly. I talked about it, was it last week, the week before, regarding albums of the year. So it's not anything really big, it's just sort of a planning thing for anyone who's actually catching this video, and for myself, I suppose. All the lyrics again, and a white vinyl, which that's not good, and this, unfortunately, I don't know if is in perfect shape. I mean, I'm sure, yeah, this might need just clean. It might just be dust. Wow. Well, hopefully it's okay. This is not what I expected. I mean, there's a lot of vinyl. I mean, it doesn't look, they're not scratches, it just looks like brown spots and stuff like that. I don't know if it was in shipping that those little spots showed up, and if it plays okay, but again, that's the whole thing with my turntable. Maybe this is the one to try out. I don't know, my wife and I are struggling with our living situation, and I am especially, and I mean, we're probably not going to be moving this year, but we'd like to, but maybe next year, so maybe at the point we do move, wherever our destination finds us, we'll be in a more desirable place to actually listen to music and vinyl. So, but yeah, here it is. Yeah, it's a double record. Like I said, I did track down my other copy of, and I had it. Oh, right here is my stack of all the CDs. So I have 2 copies of The War Act 2, which I can't say I've done that with a lot of them, but yeah. So I end up. It was all because it was like 2019 when I thought I'd order the vinyl, so I was like, I may as well order the CD too, and I already actually pre-ordered the CD through the Kickstarter. So another piece of news, not music related, but entertainment related. One of many of Brian K. Vaughan's projects. One of them was Why the Last Man, that came out last year. It was adapted a couple years back. You could say The Runaways as well. That was like a co-thing, but he was a co-creator of that. That's in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That got adapted, and that was somewhat successful. Unfortunately, with Why the Last Man, that was on Hulu and FX on Hulu, or whatever you want to call it. It was just, I think they need to try it again at some point, but it didn't work that well. I didn't think it was bad. I thought it was getting a little better, but it just the viewership, the streaming ship didn't work. So, well, they're doing another one. We knew about this. There's a couple of them actually, but the one that's coming next month, it's called Paper Girls, which I have here is the first issue twice, which I bought and didn't realize. And I think this is the second. No, this is the 5th. So I mean. So, and I have not read these. I'm completely guilty of that. As much as I love Brian K. Vaughan, he's got a lot of work. You know, I've read Why the Last Man. I've read a lot of Ex Machina. And I've read some of The Runaways. Not that many. I mean, I would like to read The Runaways after watching the show and liking it. But this show, though, the basic premise of it is it's 4 girls set in 1988 who are paper delivery girls. But they find a time machine and they end up changing history, doing things that manipulate history. So it's going to be on Amazon Prime. Probably a little better support, hopefully, instead of FX on Hulu. It didn't have like many false starts the way that Why the Last Man did. Now the cast, the only person I recognized just looking at it, because what it is the four girls travel through time and they meet their older selves. It's a little bit like 12 Monkeys, or there's other shows like that with time travel shows. But Ali Wong, who I know best from, she was on, I think it was American Housewife. She was one of the neighbor friends. But she also, I saw her, I can do a review right now of the movie. I saw her in a movie with Randall Park, who was on another ABC sitcom in the mid-2010s called Fresh Off the Boat. They did a movie together called My Definitely Maybe or something like that. That was on Netflix. That 2019, I think it was. Randall Park is now on the Young Rock TV series, and he's still like a stand-up comedian. But I really like Randall Park. And I like Ali Wong, too. But she's cast as the older version of the Erin character, one of the girls in here. What was the movie we just saw on Netflix? I mean, I could do a separate review of that, I guess. It's called what? Always Be My Maybe. But so I just saw her in that. But she's done some other stuff. But she's a funny, female comedian of a little bit younger generation. She's close to my age. But anyway, so she's going to be in that. This is more like a sci-fi drama type thing. The rest of the cast for Paper Girls, though, the young girls, which, Sophia Rosinski plays Mac Coyle, Fina Straza plays KJ Brandman, Riley Lanellet plays Erin Tiang, and Cameron Jones plays Tiffany Quilkin. And then there's the older versions. Nate Cordry, which he might be related to Rob Corddry, I'm not sure. He's in the cast. Kelly Stewart, Kellee. She plays the older version of Quilkin. Tiffany, maybe? No, she plays Dr. Carol Quilkin. I don't know. Morgan Carroll. Some of these people, I mean, the casts are kind of nondescript. So it's basically Ali Wong and people I've never seen before. But that doesn't mean it's going to be bad at all. I could say the same thing about The Expanse. I knew like 2 people in the cast of The Expanse, and I love The Expanse. So, and it's Brian K. Vaughan, and who the sort of showrunner is. Let's see here. I remember reading an article. I heard about this right around the time that Why the Last Man came out. Sophia Rosinski. Oh, wow. No, those are the stars. Those are the stars. Where's the actual showrunner listed? Because then it gives me kind of a better sense about who's actually the creator. Showrunner. Let's see here. But, well, I'll just... Paper Girls. I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. Alright, sorry for that. Someone by the name of Stephanie, Stephany, Folsom. So, why I'm not finding her. I mean, Brian K. Vaughan was sort of on the peripheral, involved with both The Runaways and Why the Last Man. I think he was totally supportive of those people doing those shows the way they did. I mean, he's had his mixed results. He was on Under the Dome. He wasn't received that well when he did that, from what I remember. I've never seen it. Had Hank from Breaking Bad and everything. They were like this dome, almost like Logan's Running Away. Dome city, dome life, dome confinement of people in society in the future. But he wrote on Lost, the later seasons, but he was a writer, one of the writers on Lost. And the Why the Last Man stuff, I don't know how much of the screenplays he wrote. Some maybe, but Stephany Folsom. Well, yeah, I mean, this may be her. She's a writer from Toy Story. That's where I read that. Toy Story 4, which I'm not a huge fan. I haven't seen a lot of Toy Story movies. My wife loves animated movies. She's seen them all. Toy Story 4, while it had Key and Peele doing voices, wasn't the best result, I guess. But I don't know. Star Wars Resistance, Lord of the Rings. She's a writer on the new Lord of the Rings series also. But let's see. We'll see. This is Jane she's also doing. So I'm kind of like mixed to low expectations because I don't know the story at this point that well. The thing I'm a little too concerned about, but also may end up ultimately helping it in a way. The story premise resembles Stranger Things a little bit. in that it's 4 young kids on their bikes exploring their small Midwestern town, I believe it is. Let's say the town. Set in the 80s, set in late in 88, so the pop culture references I'll like, but that's kind of really the limit of, it seems, the similarities. And it came out, this was created, the first issue came out in 2015 before Stranger Things had ever hit Netflix. It's probably around the time that the Duffer Brothers were creating Stranger Things, but there was no awareness really, probably. If anything, it would be the other way around. The Duffer Brothers might have picked this up and read it and it's like, oh, that'd be a good idea for a series, or, you know. But, let's see what happens. If it gets promoted as like a Stranger Things, for fans of Stranger Things, and still, you know, it's about time, more of a time traveler show, like Time Traveler's Wife, which I need to catch up on, or it's more of a show about time. Quantum Leap, it's more in that vein than anything like Stranger Things is about like a life form series of, you know, not aliens, but creatures that live on another, a parallel dimension, basically. Just happen to be set in the 80s and involving kids, like the Goonies. Maybe they're both influenced by the Goonies. So, anyway, that's coming up July 29th. It premieres. I don't know if it's going to be like 1 episode a week on there, or if they're going to do it all at once. We'll see. But I'm definitely interested as long as I still can access it. So, there was one other item that I'm now forgetting. That stuff that are, I mean, there's some stuff that came out music-wise. But I think that, I mean, tomorrow I'll maybe be able to do some kind of another video blog or something tomorrow. I'm expecting some kind of package in the mail. Well, Bubble Math, I'm going to be getting the Bubble Math album. I know that Pete Pardo with, you know, he did, Sea of Tranquility did a review of the new Bubble Math album. Umphreys McGee's coming out with an album. Unfortunately, I've kind of soured on them a little bit, but Umphreys McGee's coming out with an album July 1st called Asking for a Friend. Oh, and the Deer Hunter. Well, hold on. Kula Shaker, British sort of Brit-pop psychedelia band who's only released like 5 records since the early 90s, have a new record called The First Congressional Church of Eternal Love and Free Hugs. Very hippie-ish. Kind of reminds me of the Church of the Cosmic Skull title a little bit, so I'm going to check it out. It came out last Friday, June 10th. Motorpsycho's putting on an album in August called Ancient Astronauts. This band, I counted, has 23 albums in like 30 years. They're like, a little bit like King Gizzard. It's almost too much, but I have liked some of their music in the past. Oh, that's right. Both Fates, I mentioned the Jim Matheos Kings of Mercia record. That's coming out. But also Ray Alder and Mark Zonder's project A-Z, A to Z, with self-titled A-Z Records, coming out August 12th. I'm still kind of a little gun-shy with it. As much as I love Fates Warning, I need to do a thing on Fates Warning, like a whole album series if I ever get the time, sometime in the next couple months. Because I love them, I'm a lifer, but it's really, a lot of the music that's been really good with Fates Warning has been related to Jim Matheos and Jim Matheos' songwriting, and also Terry Brown's involvement. This is Mark Zonder. He had a project a couple years ago I wasn't that into. I mean, it was the ZW band or whatever with Gary Workamp. I was hoping to like it, I just didn't get into it. Ray Alder's solo music and like Redemption and it's always been kind of lukewarm. His last solo record was good, but it wasn't Fates Warning. To me, more and more the feeling is that Jim Matheos is what I appreciate the most about Fates Warning. But that's still not shortchanging. I'm definitely going to check this out. I'm hopeful. I hope it's not like Fates Warning, but I hope it kind of has some of the similar Ray Alder vocal stuff that I have loved at times. The last few records, well, the last record not so much, but especially Theories of Flight and some of the records, of course, previously. The Deer Hunter put out their second single, Ring 3 Luxury. It's like a 9+ minute epic of sweets. It's kind of a narrative thing, very unusual, it kind of took me off. It was very theatrical, but you know, I don't want to get too much into listening to early singles. It's only coming out in a couple weeks, the full record. And to my, but the second part of it especially is very kind of catchy with xylophone and sax. I don't know if the saxophone is going to be playing a very prominent role in this new record, Antimai, from them, but if it is, I'm definitely optimistic about it. I mean, that and the Luxury 7. I'm a fanboy, that I have that bias, of course, but I mean, thinking about my albums of the year, which I'm just about to talk about, the Antimai record, maybe fairly unfairly, I cannot ignore the fact that I have pretty high hopes for it. So that is the transition that I can add to, is that I was going to do my albums of the year mid-season like this coming Friday, probably not this coming Friday, but the following Monday, Tuesday when I'm off. I might still, but I'm kind of leaning toward no. I have another day off July 5th, as long as I don't have a lot of conflict stuff that comes up. It's a Tuesday. Right around the peak of that fireworks and all that stuff that we deal with. But then I can actually include the July 1st releases. And the June 24th and this coming Friday, of course, too. The 17th. So the Deer Hunter is going to just barely skate into the first half of the year, along with a lot of those other records I've loved. So it's like 30 or 40 records. I mean, varying. I was listening to this Chrome Canyon today. Morgan Z, who used to be with Apes and Androids, a sort of electronic Tangerine Dream type record. That came out. You know, there's a lot of stuff. But being a fanboy of the Deer Hunter, you know, I can't deny. I can't say that, you know, their record is always going to be, any record they put out is going to be conscious and going to be considered something I'm looking forward to. In fact, among the records that are coming out the rest of the year, that's probably number one or number two. The number two would have to be the King's X album. There's a lot of stuff that could come out and stuff that's coming out that I'm still excited for. Porcupine Tree, I've mentioned this stuff ad nauseum. Muse, of course, but Muse is kind of starting to lose me here and there. The two Eric Johnson records could be like sleepers coming out in July. I mean, I think that's about it. You know, there's a couple others. Black Midi again. The hipsters love that band. That gospel EP, of course. But it's really at this point, if Dirt Poor Robins officially releases Queen of the Night as a record, maybe the Kevin thing that I just mentioned, that I can't discount that, even though it's kind of fair. Kevin won the album of the year last year with, you know, Call Me Kai, Kevin Gilbert. Yeah, I mean, there's other stuff. I don't know if it's going to come up. Dan Moxon just put out some music, so I don't know if there's going to be a Ben Sinister record this year or not. Childish Japes, of course, Small League Sink Ships. These are all records I'm excited for. Kimbra. But I know the King's X album's coming out. If Self releases a record, certainly The Reign of Kindo. Certainly, we might get an album called The Deep End from Pain and Salvation. All that stuff is certainly in the mix. Then there's this Weather Systems thing, the thing with Anathema, which I'm not going to get into all the details, but there's been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of buzzing, controversial kind of stuff with Anathema, unfortunately. But the whole thing was they kind of split up a couple of years ago at the beginning of COVID, like the first summer of COVID, and then Danny Kavanagh was going to put out a band called Weather Systems, have a new album, and that's still in the works, but there's been other financial issues that have really been a challenge for them. So anyway, that's a mouthful. That's the video blog for today, June 13th. A week from today is my birthday. But what have you been listening to? Do you know about the Brian K. Vaughan thing with Paper Girls? Ex Machina is coming out at some point. It's a movie with Oscar Isaac. That's related to that. It's the point being is if Paper Girls doesn't work, at least Ex Machina still is another shot. But I don't know if Brian K. Vaughan ultimately his stuff is really meant to really translate well to Hollywood, because it does really well. The stories in the graphic novels are great, but so Paper Girls, Philip Baker Hall, of course, rest in peace. The Kevin Gilbert thing, the Family Crest, all this stuff is sort of in my stratosphere, along with still dealing with mice, unfortunately, and a new neighbor that's less than pleasant. But anyway, thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. We'll see you next time.